It's Wednesday, November 22nd. I'm Geoff Schwartz. It's Geoff Schwartz tomorrow. You were live on Twitter or on your favorite podcast platform of choice. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We are recording a couple of days early because we have NFL games on Thursday, one on Friday, a bunch of them on Sunday, and one on Monday as well. We will cover them all as we do each and every week. We give you our 5 favorite wagers by the end of the show. And as usual, later in the week, we are partnered with the Vaulted app, the home my season-long game, giving out $14,000 of cash prizes with $5,000 allocated to the final pool of the season, which will be the day of the big game. That's Vaulted, spelled VLTED. It's a place where you can store your predictions, which we will do at the end of the show. You can participate in cash prize pools like my own without any entry fees. You can prove you're smarter than your friends. I'll have my own pool each week. As you guys know by now, you answer questions to win cash prizes. You agree or disagree. You set a point total from 1 to 10, and there are no entry fees to participate. We're handing out $500 a week, $400 to the winner, $75 to second place, $25 to third place. And if you beat me in the pool, you qualify for the big game pool, which again will be $5,000 at the end of the season. Download Vaulted, VLTED. Remember to use my code Geoff. That's Geoff with a G to find my pool. Matthew, we were doing so well. We've hit a little bit of a rough stretch, which is going to happen in any season. We're 32-19, 3 Broncos, so we're 32-19-4. We're at 58% after 1-3-1 weekend. Things just didn't go our way. Like we Kansas City, they should have won and covered that game. They were the better team. Shit happens. The Broncos they had a small number, 2.5. One didn't cover. On a 2-point play that felt like they actually didn't want to cover the game. It was like, oh, how do I want to play to not cover the game? That was the perfect play. We're back for Thanksgiving, early for Thanksgiving. Your first Thanksgiving as a father, so enjoy that. I will enjoy frying my turkey and all the sides that we're going to have. I don't know if we're going to enjoy wagering on these games, though, on Thanksgiving. 3 games as usual, and the same couple teams play each and every Thanksgiving. The night game is always the one that's always different. So let's start out, Matt, with our picks with the Thanksgiving Day games.
So efficient, Geoff. It's like we're trying to save people time for their holiday. I love it.
Yes.
Nice to see you. Please don't burn your house down with the deep fried turkey. I've seen too many of those videos out there.
See, I have an electric fryer. It's not a propane fryer, no open flame. I do it the right way. Thank you very much.
Very good. Public service announcement. We're giving you all kinds of things on this podcast. So you mentioned the 3 games. Let's start with the earliest one. The Detroit Lions laying 7.5 to Green Bay. Green Bay maybe a little rejuvenated. Maybe they were on our do not wager list. We can talk about Thanksgiving games as a whole. There's lots of things we can do here, but I think this is probably a pass for me. But I'm curious if this is on your list.
Just tease the Lions down to 1.5 and be done with it, right? It's that simple. Yeah. Put them in a tease with something. You could tease something else on this day. Maybe you bring the Niners down to a near pick 'em. You put Seattle up to 13. I mean, like there's ways to play this, but this is the early game. It's always a little bit sleepy. It feels like early on. A lot of people bet the under in this game. I'm not touching the under in this spot. The Packers are getting a little bit better as we've seen each week. They're kind of incrementally better on offense. The Lions look like one of the best teams in the NFL at the moment. So it's a stay away, man. It's not a game I have any feel for, any side. If it was 6.5, maybe I look toward the Lions, but it's 7.5. I don't feel like putting money on the Packers in this situation either. So this to me is a pass.
Yeah. In general, the rule of thumb is that the chalk tends to cover and win on Thanksgiving.
Except the Cowboys.
I'm trying to get the right number here. Yeah, except the Cowboys. But yeah, usually the public favorites end up covering. So this is a spot weirdly where you would want Detroit, despite it being kind of a big line for a team that we don't generally like to trust. I'm just trying to find the number of what the favorites do on Thanksgiving. Favorites of 7 points or more on Thanksgiving are 23-8 against the spread since 1990. So in general, you're going to want to take Detroit here if you have to make a pick, but it's a pass for us. Speaking, I think, of passes for us, if you'll allow me 1 minute of soapbox on my Commandantes, they're 12.5 point dogs in Dallas. You mentioned it's good to fade the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. They're 1-11 against the spread in their last 12 on Thanksgiving, which is crazy. Dak 1-5. I think this is the laydown spot.
Sorry. The reason why, by the way, that is because the Cowboys are a very public team, and the line gets overinflated on Thanksgiving. So the line just
Right.
shoots, like it just goes way up like this. Again, Washington's favored by 9 last weekend. Didn't win, obviously. Now they're 12-point dogs. That's a giant swing in a point spread from week to week. And a lot of it happens to be just a lot of money in the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think honestly, if you're going to bet this one, maybe wait till right before kickoff. Dallas is just going to keep getting that money. Everybody at home with their phone out is just going to keep betting the Cowboys. And so, yeah, if you can get like 14, I'd maybe like the Commanders. But this could be the game where they go like, wait a second, we have a long week ahead of us. They still have a bye in front of them. Like this could be the time where they make the move with Ron Rivera if they don't show up here. So a pretty unpredictable outcome. Dak sort of loves beating on Washington too. So this is going to be a sad one. I think producer Hank and I are just probably not going to watch this game and maybe just check our phones if it's close in the third or fourth quarter. That's my plan here. I have some interest in the next game, Geoff. I'm curious if you do. Well, and that's San Francisco at Seattle.
I just want to
that line is 7 right now.
One final thought on this game. The Cowboys though have like beat the shit out of bad teams this year, and so just something to note. They continue to do that. By the way, there is a 7.5 at DraftKings, not a sponsor, for the game that ends with the Steve Aoki halftime concert in Seattle, 49ers. And will you turn on the Commanders game to watch the Dolly Parton halftime show?
Is that happening?
Yeah, Dolly Parton's at halftime.
Was Scott Stapp unavailable? Like I feel like right? Every year, like they're missing the Creed opportunity. It says that sort of circulates every time this year.
I believe it's Jack Harlow for the early game, Dolly Parton for the middle game, and Steve Aoki for the nighttime game.
Really hitting every demo there. Like
yes,
you're just going across the whole spectrum. Yes. There's a little something for everybody there. Somehow not anything for me though. I don't know how that's possible.
Well, okay. So you take Seattle plus 7.5, right?
I'm actually on San Francisco here.
So we're 7. Okay.
Yeah. So let me make that case for you.
Okay.
First of all,
I like
crazy stat. The 49ers, I believe in 20 of their last 22 games, 20 of their last 22 wins have been over 7. So when they win, they sort of have that Josh Allen thing of like when they win big. The other part of this is road favorites do super well on Thanksgiving. It's not a spot that we don't tend to like big road favorites for obvious reasons. Thanksgiving is the time to take them. The other thing is, Geno Smith definitely a little bit injured at the very least. Yeah. This is a short week. They lost a brutal game last week, that Jason Myers missed kick, which gave us our win, thankfully. Kenneth Walker out, a pretty banged up secondary that I think is a little bit overrated because Weatherspoon's been so good. And also the 49ers are totally healthy. Like they came off the bye, Brock Purdy's looked like a totally different quarterback after he got past that concussion thing. This is the rare time where it's like McCaffrey's good, Samuel's good, Ayuk's good, Trent Williams is good, Bosa's good. Like this could be a really good spot for them. And San Francisco tends, I forget how this one works in the wheel of the NFC West, but San Francisco tends to do really well against.
I think they win these games.
Yeah, I think this is one of those. So I don't know. What do you think?
Okay, so I was going to try to bungle my way through a Seahawks case here. We've been on or off the Seahawks, and we've considered them in many games over the last couple of weeks. And what I've come to see from them is they are just okay, right?
Yep.
Go back 5 weeks, 6 weeks. They lose to the Bengals. We talked about the red zone offense in that game. Terrible. We had the Seahawks the next week. They needed a field goal to cover 10 against the Cardinals late in that game. The Browns with PJ Walker going to Seattle and should have won that game. Seattle wins late in that game. Play the Ravens, get smoked. Beat the Commanders by 3 and lose to the Rams. Like they're just a very average team, Matt. And the Niners, when they are playing well, to your point about the number of them just kind of just skyrocketing when they win, when they're playing well, they kick everyone's butt. And if there is at all an idea that Drew Lock might play in this game, this number will go above 10 in a heartbeat. So 7 is a good number. I'm fine with watching this game and rooting for the better team to win and cover. That feels a lot better than hoping that they turn the ball over and look like crap and Seattle covers this game late. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Seattle's tackles
I think
Seattle's tackles a little shaky right now against that Niners pass rush. I'm fine with it. I've told you, man. Like if you love something, we're putting it. I don't love a lot this week, so I might need your help.
Yeah, it's tricky laying 7 on a short week, but Shanahan 7-2 against the spread on short rest since 21. That's second best behind Sean McVay, interestingly. The 49ers have covered, let me see, 8 of 9 in their last against the NFC West. They've been hot. And the big thing about the home dogs 2-27 straight up on Thanksgiving since 2000.
Wow.
So it's one of those spots where you just don't have to worry too much about laying it with the favorite.
Okay.
So the fact that we're getting 7, I think, is fine. It's going to move. I bet this gets to 7.5. Like if there's any news, like you said about Geno, this could go the other way and really steam. So I think we're locking in a good number here if we get 7.
Okay, we'll take 7. Let's do it. What do we got next?
All right, Black Friday, buddy. The Jets. Tim Boyle's Jets hosting the Dolphins. The Dolphins have been bad to us. We were on them early, and they've come around and hurt us in the last couple of weeks. I don't see a world where we could make a play on this game. Do you?
No, certainly not the Jets. Getting points at home in this game. I have the under in this game. It's 41. Look at the Dolphins. The 3 games they played good defenses. I think it's 17 points, 14 points, and 20 points against Buffalo. And the flip side, the Dolphins' defense is Jalen Ramsey has come back. They've allowed 17, 14, and 13. Like the defense is much better with Jalen Ramsey back. He's going to be figuring things out with Vic Fangio. So they're playing maybe better on defense, not as good on offense against these better defenses. But Tim Boyle, like, come on, Matt. Like, they're covering 10 points. This game could be, 24-7, like 24-10. Like, and that's a very reasonable outcome for this game. I'm not putting money on Tim Boyle. I see this stuff this week. Oh, Nate Hackett and Tim Boyle are on the same page. Oh, that's who I want to align myself with, Nate Hackett. That's the guy I want to be like, yep.
It's brutal, man.
It's like, no, absolutely no chance. The under is my best bet on the Bear Bets podcast for this week. And so I'm good with the under in this spot and just having that ticket.
I like that play. This Jets thing, man. This Tim Boyle. I mean, there's a reason they didn't go to him earlier. He's got legendarily bad college stats. He wasn't able to win games at UConn, wherever he played. This is not going to end well. This just basically is whether the Jets defense can continue to sort of hold down Miami. So that's a pass. I'm sure we'll end up talking each other into a side bet of some kind on Friday because, I mean, what are we going to do? Not bet this game? Like, what are we talking about? All right. Speaking of games we actually will not bet, the Patriots and the Giants. No, I was going to try to just do plus 3.5 for the Giants because you're getting the hook. And I here's what I'll do instead. For this game, would you rather have Mac Jones or Tommy DeVito as your quarterback?
Tommy DeVito, because I know that anything weird can happen at some point. Like I'd rather just roll with the weirdness than roll with Mac Jones, who does nothing for anything at any time. Right?
Yeah. I think that's probably right. Which is just insane.
Who is laying 3.5 on the Patriots this weekend?
I don't know, man. There's still so much respect in Vegas for the Patriots, and I think people are like, it's Belichick. Like he's gonna figure this DeVito kid out. Like this is just an abomination. And now that my insane hypothetical is off the table, can we just move on to an actual good football game? All right, Pittsburgh. This line's been all over the place. I want to see what the latest is. I'm seeing you can get the Bengals plus 2.5 somewhere, or as far as 1. Basically, the Steelers are favored on the road against Jake Browning and the Bengals. Man, I don't like how I feel about this one. Do you have a lean here?
If we're getting 2.5 with the Bengals, you take it, right?
I think so. I think so.
Where's 2.5 at?
I'm seeing it on action here. 2.5.
I'm gonna find the 2.5. Because I will gladly take 2.5.
Plus 2.5. I don't know where what book that's at. But I am
so maybe I'll take the 1. I think the Bengals win this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could too. One of the things is, well, go ahead, make the case.
So Points Bet has a plus 2.5. That's where it's at right now.
Perfect.
So
great.
As we're recording this, Points Bet has a plus 2.5. We're going to take a plus 2.5. The case for this is it seems like in some of these games when you're playing, a Steelers team like them, the backup quarterback thing doesn't seem to matter. I mean, they just lost to a backup quarterback, right? Because Kenny Pickett's not any good and they can't move the ball in offense. But look around this, like this game. The Bengals are better at overall, right? They're better at offensive line, skill position players, and on the whole, right? Obviously, if Teagan's doesn't play, maybe it changes. But it's Pickens and is it Fryermuth's hurt, right? Is he here? Am I right? Am I right on that?
He's coming back, I think.
He's coming back. That's what I heard. Coming back. But again, Kenny Pickett has just doesn't throw. I think 6 touchdowns this year, like some insanely low number. Jalen Warren is good, but they don't give him the ball now. Obviously, because of the coordinator change, maybe it's different on offense. I don't know. As a defense, the Bengals have taken a little bit of a step back this year compared to what they have been in previous years. But outside of T.J. Watt, it feels like a pretty even defensive matchup, right? In this game, and so Bengals are at home. Jake Browning hasn't played football in a long time, so I don't know how good he's going to be, but. The Steelers as a favorite, we go over this all the time, are terrible as a favorite. They're terrible in this spot. So Bengals plus 2.5. If we get 2.5, which as we see right now, I'm over this. I'll take it.
Yeah, interesting. Thanks, Hank. The Firemuth played last week. He had 1 catch, so he's working his way back. The only thing that trips me up here is if there's like a bounce back after the firing of Matt Canada, because I got to be honest. I think Bengals are the right side here. The first reason, this interesting thing about backup quarterbacks when they come in, since 2019, when a backup quarterback comes in, the team that trots those guys out 67, 51, and 2 against the spread. The last 2 years, 25 and 20. So it seems like these backups come in, they're a little underrated, and maybe the team gets a boost. That probably isn't happening here, but the other thing that's to Browning's advantage is, remember, the Bengals played Thursday. So they've had, he probably didn't get any first-team reps the whole year, maybe at the beginning of the year when Burrow was injured. Then he gets that extra long time to practice. It feels like this is sort of that stand your ground moment for the Bengals where it's like if they lose this one, the Bengals get up another game on them. They just lost to the Ravens. This is it. And then if that happens, then they start to think about, well, what do we do with our veteran guys and all that stuff. So I think at home, it's a pretty safe play. The other thing was with the Steelers is the Steelers, the trope of Mike Tomlin, has become like everyone's on it now. And, the Steelers have had this just crazy luck this year. Last week they went to play DTR and couldn't figure him out. Jordan Love looked great against them. Will Levis looked good against them. I do think that Browning can, at least be competent. He didn't look atrocious coming into the middle of the game. So I think this is the right thing. The only thing is if somehow the firing of Matt Canada just opens up Pittsburgh's offense, but I don't think the personnel are there. So I'm willing to stick with 2.5.
We were wrong about Kenny Pickett this year. We thought he'd take a jump, but he clearly hasn't. And so I don't know if a new coordinator makes him take that jump very quickly, right? They definitely have to call better plays and sequence better plays. But does Kenny Pickett make better throws all of a sudden now? And I would say the answer is no. The answer is no to that, right?
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, just give it to Pickens and Warren and figure the rest out. But yeah, I like the Bengals. The 2.5 is nice. All right. Can we just skip Panthers Titans? The line's 4. Please don't try to talk me in.
It's 3.5.
I see if okay. Well, does it matter?
I mean,
don't do it.
Matt.
Don't you dare. Do not do it.
The Panthers suck. Very, very much. Their coach is going to get fired soon. They are a dumpster fire. I'm not saying Tennessee's the right side here, but from a football perspective, this game should not be terribly close. The Panthers are legitimately awful, dude. Bryce Young is regressing each and every week. We don't have to put Tennessee in here. Maybe it's too simple to put Tennessee in here. But the Panthers are bad. They're bad. So we could pass on this because Tennessee's not very good. But I don't know how the Panthers keep this game. I mean, they'll keep it close because maybe it's a Titans game and they're not the best as favorites. But we'll stay off of it. It's fine. I don't need to have it in here.
I mean, Titans would be the side. But
You know what? I'm going to put it as a
Yeah,
maybe. Here we go. Tennessee minus 3.5.
God, how uninspired. Just a possible Titans. That's a game like I would just ask you if we won afterwards. Like I wouldn't even like our record matters to me a lot. I bring it up a lot with friends and colleagues, and I still wouldn't care enough about it to watch a single second of this game. Uh,
By the way, that's a fifth straight podcast my daughter has run into my office. This is
she's
Matt.
like, "Daddy, do not bet on the Titans Panthers. You're better than
We
this." That's what
recorded
she came in
different.
to say.
We recorded different times too, and she still managed just to come in and bother me in the middle of every single podcast I'm doing. At least this time she didn't talk. She said, "Oh, you're on camera." She saw your face and like just disappeared. That happens a lot, I think, around you. But
Does she know
nonetheless,
who I am?
I don't think so. She knows who my
Okay.
producer on the Pac-12 is because Dan talks to her. Used to talk to her a lot. All right, let's move it
Is he
along.
funnier than me?
Next, is he what?
Is he funnier than me?
Funnier looking, I would say. Not funnier.
Nice.
Um,
Somehow that
yeah,
worked out in my
yeah.
favor. All right.
It did work on your favor. All right, what do we got next?
All right. I think we're gonna have a real conversation here. Jacksonville, road favorites at Houston. The Texans, one of the hottest teams in the league. Jacksonville, road favorite. I've changed my mind on this game 20 times, and I have landed on a side. What side are you on?
Well, go first, please. I'm curious.
I've landed on Houston. And the reason is that I think Jacksonville gets this crazy benefit of the doubt that we don't really give other teams that are kind of in their boat. Jacksonville, I just want to sort of go through their schedule here and talk about the quarterbacks who they've beaten. They've beaten Will Levis, Kenny Pickett, Derek Carr barely, Minshew. They did beat the Bills. They beat Desmond Ritter. They got smoked by the Texans the last time they played and lost to Mahomes. So they haven't really beaten a good quarterback to this point. Last week, they finally broke out. Everyone was waiting for that sort of statement breakout game. They finally got it. That's after a 3-point performance the week before. But Tennessee, we were just talking about, like, that was, 2 weeks after they traded their best player in the secondary. Like,
Yeah.
Great job beating Will Levis at home. Congratulations. Like, you're supposed to be a playoff team. The Texans, like, yeah, this feels super public. They're getting they're getting both the majority of the bets and the money. The public and the sharps are aligned here. It's actually just moved to +2. Interesting. I see a +2 now. The other thing I want to just bring up here. Sorry, I got distracted by the line. So Houston, they actually probably they could even have a better record and look even better than they currently do. Like last week was kind of fluky, like a couple of red zone turnovers that are not typical for CJ Stroud.
Yeah.
They could have they had a game where they lost their kicker in the middle of the game. Like they play all these games close. And CJ Stroud is a dog. He's 5-1. That's where you want to take him, not when he's a favorite. And so, yeah, I just think they're probably about even. And I just don't really get why Jacksonville's a road favorite against probably a playoff team. I think it's not totally fair.
I think it's fair to note Jacksonville's offense has just not been the same this season. And Houston's, their defense DVOA is their 18th, but they're overall 12th. Jacksonville's 9th. As you mentioned, Jacksonville hasn't really beaten anyone. They've lost to sort of the better teams they've played. And they lost to Houston by 20 earlier this season.
Yeah.
Like Houston already beat them. So we were on Arizona last week, I think in a situational spot, but sort of Houston to me proved themselves in an ugly game to win that clunker last weekend. They're playing good football. I'm fine with it. We get +2. You said there's a 2 out there. I'm good with Houston. Yep. I love Houston +2.
Nice. We got 2 line moves in our favor here. Maybe things are going to break our way this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I mean, just like the Texans pass rush has been good. Like, the Jags offensive line has been a little banged up. So I think this is just a good spot for Houston. But it almost feels a little too easy. I feel like we sort of talked ourselves out of it. And now we're back in. All right, let's move to a NFC South gauntlet game for first place, I think. This would be the Saints and Falcons.
Yep.
You can kind of get whatever you want here. It's about 1 to 1.5 either side. Like,
Matt, here's the deal.
Go ahead.
This is a time, Thanksgiving. We're supposed to be thankful for our listeners, for our friends, for our family. And I think for our listeners, it would be best to skip this game. You go to a game we're actually going to wager on and not spend a second talking about the Falcons or Saints.
Okay, interesting. So we're gonna wager. Does that mean you want to wager on the Bucks at the Colts? The Colts laying 2.5 at home against Baker Mayfield?
No, we have other games to talk about. There's no other games you like in
I
the
thought you were
slates?
segueing us to the next game. Yeah, no, I
No.
honestly think I just quickly on the NFC South, we're gonna skip that next game too. I think you can get either the Falcons or the Bucks. Like you can get the Falcons like plus 285, I think, and the Bucks like plus 300 something to win the NFC South. Like, what is it with the Saints? Like, I just feel like the Saints are getting so much respect. They're a little bit banged up too, and they've just had like just such a weird season. They still have Derek Carr and Dennis Allen, who are perpetual underachievers. I feel like the move here is maybe to throw some like I kind of think the Bucks are a little bit saucy. Like they play everybody close. Like they could have honestly covered that game against San Francisco last week. They got a little unlucky. They still have a good passing game. They still have some good pieces up front and on defense. I kind of think the Bucks at like +3. I'll look it up, but I think that's not a bad play for maybe it's for our futures. What do you think?
I don't think it's a bad play, but the thing about Tampa Bay is what's their identity this season? This team does this well.
Mike Evans is their identity. Like it's
Right.
Mike Evans and dump offs to Rashad White and some good linebackers. That's their identity. It's not great, but
Yeah.
we're talking about like can they beat the Saints and the Falcons?
I'll put it under as a future or as a play this week.
As a future, I'm just sort of curious. Like, let me get the latest odds here. The Falcons are plus 290 and the Bucks are plus 340.
What are the Saints?
Minus 150. It's like if the Falcons win this week, like they're in the driver's seat. It's just kind of. I just feel like there's value here.
But Desmond Ridder is playing this weekend, so good luck to the Falcons. If you sprinkled on both the Bucks and the Falcons, I think you might you have a good chance to. You need one of the three teams or one of the two teams to get in. It's not the worst wager for it to sprinkle on a little bit there.
Yeah, I just am not buying the Saints. Hank just sent up some news, but since Elon Musk broke Twitter, I no longer can read thumbnails. Looks like just some defensive injuries for the Bucks. This is a pass. Both of these NFC South teams. God bless if you're a fan of these teams.
We're having a thunderstorm on Thanksgiving Day. That's like maybe a first in North Carolina. It's wild.
Interesting.
Didn't expect that. All right, what do we got next?
Rams at Cardinals, Geoff. The Cardinals are a team now that are laying points to Sean McVay all of a sudden. 1.5 maybe. Any interest here?
I mean, it would be the Rams, right? Or bust like that.
Definitely.
Not Arizona, right? Yeah. Why are they laying? Why are the Cardinals a favorite here?
Unclear, man. I think people just are happy to see Kyler back. But this is still one of the worst defenses in the league. I'm trying to find McVay's. Yeah, I don't believe McVay has ever lost to the Cardinals. Is that right?
Sounds familiar.
This is one of those. Or maybe they ended up losing at some point. He won their first 8. I'm curious. Maybe Hank, you can help me out there with the last couple of years. But yeah, he owns the Cardinals. I think obviously the Cup injury is bad, but the Rams are getting Kyren Williams back this week. He was one of the best running backs in the league in terms of efficiency when he was out there. The Rams are just I think the Rams are just better. The Cardinals are fine, but you don't want to take Kyler's tends to be better like on the road and as a dog, not as a home favorite. The Cup thing's tough, but Nakua that worked for them earlier in the year. The Rams are going for it. I think the Rams the Rams are
fighting. The Rams are fighting for playoff berth. Arizona's fighting for nothing.
That's
worth noting. DVOA Arizona's 30th, Los Angeles is 20th. A big difference in DVOA. The thing about the Rams obviously is just the injuries, right? Just injuries and lack of depth, and you worry about Stafford gets hit wrong, what's going to happen in this game? No Cooper Cup, right? So, but the Rams are. I mean, I get a better coach, a team fighting for a playoff berth, getting a couple points, a veteran team. I'm in. I mean, Cooper Cup is day to day right now, so he might play this weekend.
Yeah,
if he plays this weekend, if he plays, this number goes to a pick 'em, right? Like we're not gonna. This is the best we're gonna get all week. I feel like.
Yeah, I definitely. I think Aaron was underrated. He was being used like as much as any running back. So I'm fine with this one, Geoff. This one feels like kind of easy to me. But maybe too easy, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, sir.
Yeah, McVay 12 against the Cardinals. That's pretty amazing. So next, we're getting to some better games here. The Browns at Denver. Wow, this line really moved. Denver is now favored by 1.5 up to 2.5.
It just got steamed while we were talking.
Interesting. Back to Cleveland.
I like the Browns.
Or no, more to Denver.
I like the Browns.
I think I might too.
The Browns are viable. I mean, their roster is really good. Now, DTR is on the road, so it's a little bit different than playing at home. The Broncos are playing a little bit better. They absolutely are. But they're not that much better as a team, right? They're slowly creeping a little bit better. They're 25th in DVOA, 15th in offense, 32nd on defense. Browns are 28th on offense. We know that they're not great, but defensively they're first, and they have the best player maybe in the NFL, Myles Garrett, right now. I know we're going back to backup quarterback thing, but we're almost wagering on just the team, like the Browns team and the way they're coached right now, the way they're playing right now is better than the Broncos. They're not going to go in this game and think, oh, it's the Broncos and we're on the road. Like, I like this game a lot, Matt.
Interesting. I was open to this, but I didn't feel strongly. Broncos, Geoff, on a little bit of a quiet. Go ahead. They're a little bit on a quiet heater here. They've won 4 in a row, so it could be a good spot to bet against them. But go ahead.
I mean, part of it too. Also, there's just not a lot of I like after this in our slate of games. So like this is a one I like more than the next maybe 4.
Interesting. Yeah. No, I could see that. Denver's turned things around, but they've won some like very hairy games. The Bills game with the crazy penalty at the end, the Vikings game we mentioned last week, which we were on, and then they kind of pulled out a weird sequence from Dobbs at the end, like strange game, barely beat the Packers. The Chiefs laid an egg. Like, I think I sort of was doing this last week when we were taking them. I was like, the Broncos might kind of be back. Like they've kind of turned a corner. They figured things out. This is a really, really different defense that they're going to have to go against. They still are having trouble. They don't ever have an explosive play. They still turn the ball over a decent amount. Russ can still sort of panic back there. I think that this is not going to be, the total in this game is 35. So there's not going to be a lot of points in this one. This is how Cleveland is going to win games. And I get that it's a road game for DTR, but like they're not going to ask him to do a whole lot. They're just going to try to run the ball and, not lose, honestly. So I'm fine with this, especially now that we're getting that extra point. The 2.5. This is the third time. Yeah. This was at 3 even. Like I think that people are just on Cleveland, but the public will be on Denver because they keep winning in prime time. So
it's got steamed. Let me see here. I see there's 1-2 available. It looks like.
Yeah.
So we take 2, I guess.
Hold on. I think I just saw 2.5 somewhere. Let me just double check that.
So we're taking the Browns in this spot. So once you find that, I just look. They're playing. They believe in each other, right? I think they're playing like that. So you can definitely see that.
It was a 2. I saw a 2.5 when we started talking, and now it's down to 1.5. So it seems like somebody. Maybe we move the line, Geoff.
Yeah. So we'll got 1.5 there then. Okay. Next up, what do we got?
Your Kansas City Chiefs laying a monster 9.5 points. You can get 8.5 to the Raiders.
You will not convince me to take the Raiders. So we're just it's not going to happen.
No.
This is obviously this is no bet. I mean, this is the spot you take you take the Raiders. Let's talk about the Chiefs very quickly since I didn't get a chance after the Monday football game. They've lost 3 games this year, Matt, scoring 21, excuse me, allowing 21, 21, and 23. They used to never happen with Kansas City, right? They offensively right now, and I've been trying to hold out positive hope that we're going to change. Because last year we saw some of this. We've seen in different years. It's been a little off rhythm. But, Matt, there's just no rhythm to this offense. It's Travis Kelce's just a tad step slower. He's been beat up this year. He looked like he walked off with an ankle injury from this game, the knee injury in preseason. He's also 34, 33. He's a much older player now. Eventually those things add up. But there's just not a wide receiver that Pat Mahomes trusts at all. And he's still throwing the ball open. Guys, he's just not catching the ball either. It's a mess right now on offense. And it's easy to make the case that once they start catching the ball, they'll start scoring in the 30s again. But who's the guarantee they're going to start doing that? They haven't done it all season. They're going to start catching the ball now all of a sudden. And then on top of that, they've had some undisciplined play, right? Penalties, turnovers. And the issue with that is for so many years, you could cover up those bad plays because your offense could just come out with an explosive play and score. They can't cover those up anymore because they can't score right now. So you turn the ball over the red zone with a bad interception by Mahomes. You turn the ball over with a Travis Kelce fumble. You're not good enough to make up the difference anymore. You drop a pass. You can't make up the difference anymore. So to me, look, the Chiefs is a big road favorite or just a no wager anyways. But they can flip the switch by catching the football. They're right there. This is the best defense Pat Mahomes. Their defense is fantastic. It's unbelievable. They won the line of scrimmage in this game against the Eagles. Hard to do. The defense, the Eagles had 230 yards on offense. That was it, I think, for the game. But you just can't bet either team in this game for those reasons.
Yeah, I think I'm a bit more bullish on the Chiefs actually than maybe you are, because I think that the Broncos game you can kind of throw out, but both the Lions and Eagles games they arguably should have won. The drops killed them, but drops are. The drops are so bad that it can sort of only get better. And you mentioned Kelce. When's the last time Travis Kelce had a killer red zone fumble? That just doesn't happen that often. And
no, it doesn't.
It was just sort of a fluky win from Philly. Credit to them. Really tough spot. We were obviously on the Chiefs, especially with the Andy Reid bye thing. But the Chiefs now they get a little bit of a breather, and I think that they're going to use the next couple of weeks to just kind of figure things out. And maybe, this time, we haven't seen really McCole Hardman get super integrated again. And that's not a huge difference, but would McCole Hardman have caught that deep ball? Maybe, you know what I mean? Is MVS going to drop that deep ball again? Probably not.
Yeah, but Hardman doesn't, it's the MVS thing. He did this in Green Bay too. That's the problem. Matt, I get you what you're saying, but I've said this too for the last 12 weeks and they keep doing it though.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, it's also the thing that I think we have to just say is you can't win every single game every single year. And I think that's honestly where the Chiefs expectations are. It's just sort of they're the Chiefs. It's Mahomes. He's going to win. It's hard to sort of rebuild that momentum the year after year after winning the Super Bowl with a coach who just wins every week. Not every week is going to feel the biggest game of all time to them. They've had too much success. This happens. So I don't think I'm super worried about them. We're not taking them this either, week, obviously. I think they still win the AFC. I'm not changing my opinion on that. Yeah, exactly. I feel more encouraged by this loss than I expected. I don't know how to explain what I'm feeling, but I think that Kansas City's fine. It's very obvious to point to the drops. I think the Justin Watson experiment might be over. I think, there's some of these things that are a little bit fixable that, and Pacheco's coming on. I feel like they're going to turn it around. But whatever, enough about the Chiefs. I will say the great teaser candidate this week, if you want to latch on some Thanksgiving ones into there, it's they're not losing this game. All right. Buffalo and the aforementioned Eagles in possibly the game of the week here. Seeing 3, although this was at 3.5 all week. Interesting. Now it's just at 3. So the money did come enough on the Bills to bump that one down. I'm curious. So, it sounds like you don't want to do this one, but I'm curious what you think.
Okay. So we talk about the Bills every year in the same way. Go to FTN Bets, look up DVOA, go to the far right, variance, right? So variance means how different are you week to week, right? For example, Philly is 7. The Chargers are 2 because the Chargers are the same team each week. The same team that's tied with 3 minutes left in every game. A lot of the reliable teams, the winning teams, tend to have a pretty good variance. Even the bad, as I mentioned, the Chargers we could laugh about. They're just the same crummy team each week, right? For example, Carolina, by the way, number 1 in variance. They just suck each and every week, right? For years now, Buffalo's been 32 and they're there again, which means that they're a roller coaster each and every week. What are you getting from Buffalo? You're getting good, bad, terrible, amazing, sideline screaming match, hugging on the screen on the sidelines. Josh Allen, good Josh Allen, bad Josh Allen, fumbles, no fumbles. Matt, to me, you can't wager on their games very often for this reason. They either win and blow teams out or lose by a big margin. Those are sort of like they don't play a lot of close football games. Philly is off a short week, a very physical week. I mean, I think you could certainly make a case for taking Buffalo plus the 3 points with Philly off that game in Kansas City. But I can't just right now, without knowing what Buffalo team's going to show up, you can't put your money on them, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's tough. If it was 3.5, I would really be pushing for Buffalo. Because it's like Philly it's a really tough assignment to come back against, such an emotional road win, really tough defense to now go and turn around and play this Buffalo team that is really playing for a lot more than Philly is at the moment. The thing with Buffalo is like, they've had just, you mentioned it, just like a crazy weird year. And like, if the 12 men on the field thing doesn't happen, they've had so many fluky, weird turnovers. They have a really, like, the analytics love Buffalo in terms of their offense, like, despite the fact that they switched offensive coordinators. Like, I will say too, I don't think they're getting a ton of credit for what they did last week because they beat the Jets, right? They smoked the Jets 32-6 after they fired Ken Dorsey. But like, this Jets defense, like, I think that maybe they did figure something out. Like, the Jets defense beat Philly. Like, this is a real defense that was still trying really hard. And then Zach Wilson, deflated them. And this is what Buffalo does. They murder bad teams. So I think that Buffalo, you're kind of catching them at their absolute low in value in maybe like the last 3 years. Like, Buffalo is just one of those teams everyone seems to love. And Philly is just this team. They're honestly at their highest value right now. Like, everyone's just like, well, they're the best team. They beat the Chiefs. And this is usually the kind of spot where you want to jump in. And at 3.5, like, they were the play. At 3, it's really tough because now they essentially feels like they kind of just have to win for us to not push this. So I'm fine laying off. Like, if I see a 3.5 sometime before this recording ends, I might nominate it again. But I don't know.
Okay.
I think Buffalo is probably the side here.
Well, if I were to pick a side, it would be Buffalo. I don't trust that side, though. That's my personal problem with this.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, last 2 games. Sunday night, the Ravens road favorites at the Chargers. This was 4. It's 3.5 now.
No way. No chance.
Yeah.
No
I think
chance.
the Chargers, Chargers would be same thing. Chargers would be my pick here. I liked it at 4 better, but
no chance.
I think Baltimore is a little high on their own supply right now. Like, just a little bit too. Everyone's a little too hot on them, but they get an extra break. The Chargers are the Chargers. We'll see. This could be.
It's going to be tied with 3 minutes left, as it always is.
Yep, and you don't love Lamar as a big favorite here, but pass for us, and then we're definitely passing on Josh Dobbs as a 3-point favorite on Monday night.
No chance.
Talk about variance. Those two games. I guess I would take the Bears, but that's a super hard pass.
I feel like we have a solid 5 here, Matt. Can I read them back to you?
Please.
San Francisco -7, Bengals +2.5, Houston +2, Rams +1.5, and the Browns +1.5. Are you good with those 5?
I love these, man. We got great numbers on all of them too. Like, they all sort of bounced in our favor.
That's the benefit. of typically doing this on Wednesday. This might be different on Friday, because of the games this week. We had to do that, and so that's our 5. I'm gonna put it in the Vaulted app. You guys can check that out. We're gonna take a break. We'll be right back with our Vaulted predictions and our pool and everything that have to do with that wonderful partner of ours. We'll be back in a second. All right, we're back on the podcast. It is me, Geoff Schwartz. It is Matt Ford. If you're on Twitter, YouTube watching, we made it past the break. If you're listening to the podcast, you just heard me read a wonderful ad. The Vaulted app, VLTED. It's a place you can go store your predictions and join my pool. That's Geoff with a G. Find my pool. It's free to enter. Cash prizes. All you got to do is answer the 20 prediction questions. You put a value of 1 to 10 on them. You agree or disagree. If you beat me in the pool each week, you qualify for the big game pool, which is $5,000. Again, free to enter. It's a ton of fun each week. It's a good way to watch football. We have a lot of fun going through all the different ways that you can participate in the Vault app in this pool. Again, check out Geoff with a G, G-O-F-F. All right, Matt. Let's talk through a lot of ones we like here. So the first one that sticks out at me here is Mike Evans will have more receiving yards and Jonathan Taylor will have rushing yards. I feel like Mike Evans, the goal of the team this year at times is to get Mike Evans stats and kind of put him in that conversation we talked about a lot with kind of Hall of Fame. And he's Baker Mayfield's number 1 target. I think I would gladly take Mike Evans. Jonathan Taylor's had 69 yards, 47, 95, 75, 19, 18. Mike Evans got more than that, right?
I love that one. Sneaky, really good call there. Evans has been great this season. You're right. He is in the Hall of Fame contention somehow.
Will Levis will have more total touchdowns than Bryce Young. Agree. Just fade Bryce Young. Every week you fade Bryce Young.
Disaster.
Let's see here. Titans will score more than 20.5 points against the Panthers. I think I would agree with that. The Panthers, I'm just like, there's a pick 6 potential here, fumble potential for Bryce Young, get a defensive score. I hate doing this, but the 2 Chiefs ones, there's 3 Chiefs ones are pretty juicy, right? Chiefs will cover 9.5. You just disagree. The Chiefs never cover these games.
Right.
Kelsey will have more receiving targets than Devontae Adams. This one's fun. So is this like a get back to Travis Kelsey game for the Chiefs? Or will it be sort of some of the same and Devontae Adams will end up being the big target in this game? What do you think?
I was just looking this up because wasn't last year a game where he had like a 4 touchdown game against?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, it was that first
Chargers
game. He went for 4 touchdowns against the Raiders on October 10th, 22, and then hardly did anything against them in the second matchup. Devontae's been kind of up and down too, so I feel like they're not going to use Kelsey much if they don't have to. I feel like the Chiefs are just trying to save all their bullets. Where the Raiders would love to win this game. So I think I would lean on the Adams side on this one.
Okay. And then Patrick Mahomes will have more than 1.5 total touchdowns against the Raiders. I'm going to say yes on that. I'm going to agree with that. I think that Mahomes will bounce back and the receivers will catch the ball this weekend. What do you think?
I think so. I think so. I think it's a safe bet.
Okay. Here's my last favorite one. You ready? Actually, I have two more ones I like. The final game, Monday Night Football. Justin Fields will have more than 56.5 rushing yards. Always take Justin Fields overs. So I'd agree. Just like
100%.
he's going to rush. That's what he does. He rushes the football. And then DJ Moore will have more receiving yards than Jordan Addison. I just would disagree with that. I think Jordan Addison will have more than him at home in the dome. So that's our vaulted for the week. Go to the Vaulted app, check out the predictions, join the pool, free cash prizes. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, everyone. We will be back on Monday to recap all the NFL action for the last couple of days. NFL action Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday. College football, obviously, all weekend as well, Matt. Have a good weekend, everyone. Have a good Thanksgiving.
You too, buddy.
Fun family, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Take care, everybody.
Happy turkey, buddy. See ya.